Is your partner playing mind games you can't quite put your finger on? Do you feel like you're caught between intense love and subtle manipulation? You might be dating a narcissist, or worse, a Machiavellian. While both can leave you questioning your sanity, their playbooks are completely different. In this episode, we'll show you how to tell the difference, the red flags to watch for, and the tests you can use to spot which one you're dealing with. If you've ever felt like you're on an emotional roller coaster or a pawn in someone else's chess game, this one's for you. Welcome back to The Wisdom of Sex. I'm your host, Dr. Wisdom, and today we're getting into something I know you've seen all over TikTok, Instagram, and maybe even your group chats, the word narcissist. Let's be honest, everybody's calling everybody a narcissist these days. Didn't text you back? Narcissist. Didn't cry during the movie? Narcissist. Won't admit they're wrong? Definitely a narcissist, right? Wrong. It's time to pump the brakes on that label because, truth be told, not every emotionally unavailable person is a narcissist. Some people are emotionally reserved, and some people, well, they might be playing a whole different game called Machiavellianism. So let's not waste any time, get cozy on the couch, and let's get into it. First, let's define these three key terms: narcissism, emotional reserve, and Machiavellianism, so we're all on the same page. I promise this isn't a psychology lecture. Think of it as your survival guide for modern dating. Narcissism: people with narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, aren't just confident or a little cocky. Narcissism runs deeper than that. It's driven by a need for admiration, a grandiose sense of self-importance, and a shocking lack of empathy. But here's the twist. All that bravado? It's just a mask for deep insecurity. A narcissist's ego is fragile, and they need constant reinforcement to feel good about themselves. You'll see signs like attention-seeking, hypersensitivity to criticism, and emotional outbursts when their self-image is challenged. And let me tell you, if you criticize them, you're going to see that mask slip real quick. Emotional reserve. This one is important because being emotionally reserved is not a mental disorder. Let me say that again. It's not a disorder. Some people, often men, thanks to cultural conditioning, were never taught how to identify, express, or feel safe showing emotions. This isn't narcissism, it's emotional inexperience. It's more like emotional avoidance. It's a learned behavior, sometimes rooted in childhood experiences, and it's not about control or manipulation. These people aren't necessarily trying to hurt you or make you feel small. They just don't have the tools to process intense emotions. The good news is, unlike narcissism, this one can be improved with time, patience, and the right support. Machiavellianism. Okay, this one's juicy. No, I'm not talking about Tupac, but if you've ever heard of The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli, then you know what I'm talking about. Machiavellians are cold, calculating, and strategic. Unlike narcissists, they're not flashy. They're not trying to be admired. They're trying to stay in control. While a narcissist needs you to love them, a Machiavellian just needs you to move how they want you to move. They lie, deceive, and manipulate, not out of insecurity, but out of strategy. They're patient, they're planners, and they will wait for the right moment to make their move. It's not personal for them. It's business. No emotion, no remorse. Now, I know we hear the term narcissist way more than Machiavellian, but a lot of people out here calling folks narcissists are actually dealing with Machiavellians. These two personalities are both part of the dark triad, along with psychopathy, but they are not the same thing. Let me sidetrack slightly so you know the full dark triad. Psychopathy is a personality disorder characterized by a lack of empathy, impulsivity, superficial charm, and a complete disregard for the rights and feelings of others. Unlike narcissists, who seek admiration, and Machiavellians, who seek control, psychopaths seek personal gain without remorse or emotional attachment. They are often calculated, but unlike Machiavellians, they are impulsive and more prone to risky, reckless behavior. Psychopaths can be charming and manipulative, but they have no emotional connection to the people they harm. Traits include deceitfulness, emotional detachment, lack of guilt, and antisocial behavior. No, not antisocial like I don't like people. Antisocial, as in, goes against social norms without regard. Psychopathy is often linked to criminal behavior, but not all psychopaths become criminals. Some function in society as CEOs, lawyers, or high-stakes professionals where risk-taking and emotional detachment are seen as assets. But back to our two. Narcissists crave admiration, while Machiavellians crave control. A narcissist wants to be seen as special. They'll charm you, love bomb you, and make you feel like you're the only person on the planet until you criticize them. Then the claws come out. Narcissists need people to stroke their ego because deep down they don't feel good about themselves. Their self-esteem is fragile, and their entire personality is built around protecting it. Machiavellians, they don't care about being loved. They care about winning. They don't need your validation. They need control. While narcissists get angry when criticized, Machiavellians stay calm, cool, and collected. They play the long game. A Machiavellian might agree with you in an argument just to keep the peace, but a week later you'll notice something feels off. They'll sabotage you in subtle ways that make you question yourself. If a narcissist is a wildfire, all rage and chaos, then a Machiavellian is a chess master, cool, calculated, 3 steps ahead. The way they approach relationships is also different. A narcissist's love bombing is about validation. They'll shower you with affection to make you dependent on their approval. But a Machiavellian will be more subtle, more calculated. Instead of love bombing, they might build trust slowly, offering you logical solutions and helpful suggestions, but it's all part of a larger plan to control you. Okay, so you've heard the definitions and the differences, but now you're probably wondering, how do I know if I'm dating one of these people? Or if you are dating someone who is just an emotionally reserved person? Well, let me help you out with that. When it comes to empathy, the differences between a narcissist, an emotionally reserved person, and a Machiavellian are stark. A narcissist lacks genuine empathy. While they might appear empathetic on the surface, offering support or saying the right things, it's often a performance designed to win admiration or maintain control. For example, they may console you during a tough time, but later use your vulnerability against you in an argument. Their empathy is more about image management than true compassion. On the other hand, an emotionally reserved person genuinely cares, but may struggle to express it outwardly. Their love language often shows up in subtle, quiet acts rather than emotional outpourings. They might not give you a heartfelt speech about how much you mean to them, but they'll remember your coffee order, fix your car's tail light without being asked, or make sure your favorite snacks are stocked in the house. Their empathy is present but muted, often shaped by upbringing, cultural conditioning, or a lack of emotional development. A Machiavellian? Forget it. If empathy doesn't serve their agenda, it doesn't exist. Their primary focus is on control, advantage, and self-interest. Empathy is seen as a tool they can weaponize if it suits their goals. They'll breadcrumb you with small acts of attention to keep you emotionally hooked, but it's all part of a larger strategy. If ghosting you or gaslighting you advances their position, whether it's in love, work, or social standing, they'll do it without a second thought. For a Machiavellian, people are pawns in a game, and empathy has no place on the board unless it helps them win. Try the empathy test. Ask yourself, does this person genuinely care about my feelings, or do they only perform empathy when it benefits them? Share something emotional with them, like a personal struggle, and watch how they respond. Do they genuinely listen, or do they make it about themselves? Do they offer help or seem uninterested unless it benefits them? A narcissist may offer support when it makes them look good, but their empathy is shallow and fleeting. When you're upset, they might shift the focus back to themselves, saying, "Well, I had it worse," or dismiss your feelings as too sensitive. A Machiavellian, on the other hand, won't fake empathy unless it serves a strategic purpose. If helping you won't benefit them, they likely won't do it. Next is their conflict style. You can test this by offering gentle, constructive feedback and watch their reaction. Narcissists may become hyper-defensive. An example might be telling your partner, "Hey, It hurt my feelings when you dismissed me in front of your friends. Instead of addressing your feelings, they might snap back with, "You're too sensitive. Stop making everything about you." This effectively dismisses your concern while making you question your own feelings. Another example, you bring up a simple issue like, "Can you help more around the house?" And suddenly, the conversation flips. They accuse you of being ungrateful for everything they do, even if you were simply asking for support. By the end of the conversation, you feel like the one who did something wrong. Or you catch them in a lie, like discovering they've been texting an ex. Instead of admitting it, they say, "If you trusted me, you wouldn't have been snooping." They avoid accountability and make you feel like the problem, not them. An emotionally reserved person withdraws or avoids conflict. Altogether, you might say, "I feel like we don't talk as much as we used to. I miss our deeper conversations." Instead of engaging with you, they might respond with, "I don't know what you want me to say." Or they may change the subject completely. They're not trying to hurt you, they simply lack the emotional skills to respond effectively. For example, if you bring up a recurring issue, such as them being late for plans, they might reply, "I'm tired. Can we not do this right now?" Or "I don't want to argue," before walking away. Their withdrawal is not an attack. It indicates their discomfort with confrontation. Another instance might involve you expressing your feelings about needing more affection. Instead of providing reassurance or acknowledgement, they go silent. This silent treatment isn't meant to be malicious. It often stems from them feeling emotionally overwhelmed or unsure of how to navigate the conversation. And Machiavellian individuals often display chess master-like behavior characterized by strategic deception and manipulation. If you confront them about flirting with someone at a party, they might not deny it outright. Instead, they could say, "Oh, I was just being nice. I was only talking to them to gather some inside information for work." This reframing shifts the narrative from emotional to strategic. If you catch them lying, for example, claiming to be working late while a social media post shows them at a bar, they might respond with something like, "That was an old photo someone just posted today." This creates a plausible but false explanation to cover their tracks. For example, if you question why a coworker suddenly seems to dislike you, they might say, "Yeah, I've noticed that too. I have no idea why." However, behind the scenes, they could be spreading false information about you to that coworker. Machiavellians are skilled manipulators who often orchestrate conflicts in order to maintain control. Speaking of control, let's talk about control and power next, where the lines between narcissists, emotionally reserved people, and Machiavellians become even clearer. Narcissists crave control as a means to feel superior and maintain their inflated self-image. Their strategy often follows a familiar cycle: love bombing, where they shower you with affection and attention to hook you. And a side note about love bombing, because this is another confusing thing. I have many clients who think their new guy is a narcissist because they are getting what they believe is love bombed. The difference between love bombing and being genuinely excited about new love lies in the underlying intentions, emotional safety, and consistency over time. At first glance, both can look similar: grand romantic gestures, constant attention, and frequent declarations of love. However, love bombing is a manipulation tactic often used by narcissists or emotionally abusive individuals to gain control over a partner. The affection is intense, overwhelming, and disproportionate to the length of the relationship. It's not about genuine love, but about creating emotional dependence. Once control is established, the love bomber will often shift to devaluing and discarding their partner. On the other hand, being genuinely excited about new love comes from a place of authentic emotion and enthusiasm. It feels natural, steady, and sincere, with both partners equally engaged. While new love can be intense, it doesn't come with strings attached or sudden shifts in behavior. Genuine love grows over time, whereas love bombing often burns bright and fast before it crashes. The key difference is that love bombing is a tool for control, while true affection is built on mutual respect, patience, and care. I know it can be confusing because they both feel the same at first. And hey, you may be love bombing your new partner or someone you've been with for a while after conflict. So just take note and realize love bombing isn't always love bombing. As I said, the next thing a narcissist will do after love bombing is devaluing, where they begin to criticize, belittle, or emotionally withdraw from you to maintain the upper hand, and finally, discarding, where they end the relationship abruptly once they've extracted all the validation they need. This cycle isn't accidental. It's a pattern rooted in their deep-seated insecurities. They control others to avoid feeling powerless themselves. The emotionally reserved person isn't seeking control at all. In fact, they often feel out of control when it comes to emotions. Instead of trying to dominate you, they're usually just managing their own internal emotional discomfort. When things get too intense, like arguments or heart-to-heart conversations, they retreat. This retreat can look like shutting down, going quiet, or emotionally checking out. Unlike a narcissist, their behavior isn't about control or power. It's about emotional overwhelm or avoidance. But when it comes to Machiavellians, control isn't just a strategy, it's the entire game. Their every move is calculated, deliberate, and focused on maintaining a position of power. Unlike narcissists, who act from a place of emotional insecurity, Machiavellians are emotionally cold and highly strategic. They don't need to feel superior, they just need to win. Whether it's controlling people at work, orchestrating family conflicts, or manipulating a partner into staying in a relationship, a Machiavellian's control is surgical and premeditated. Unlike an emotionally reserved person who retreats from conflict, Machiavellians create conflict if it serves their end goal. Something else to consider is their long-term patterns. Ask yourself, do they have a history of broken relationships, feuds, or drama with others? Ask them about past relationships. Narcissists will blame others for everything, while Machiavellians will speak calmly about necessary endings and moving on with little emotional reaction. Narcissists leave a trail of broken relationships, friends, family, and ex-partners who did them wrong. They often blame others for failed relationships and struggle with accountability. Machiavellians may have fewer visible feuds because they play the long game. They know how to keep allies close and maintain appearances. However, if you look closely, you may notice that people in their past relationships feel used or betrayed once their usefulness ran out. These examples showcase the distinct styles associated with different personality types. Narcissists often react emotionally to protect their fragile egos and may gaslight you, causing you to doubt yourself. In contrast, emotionally reserved individuals tend to withdraw from conflict because they lack the tools to engage, not because they intend to hurt you. Machiavellians, on the other hand, are like chess players while everyone else is playing checkers. They use manipulation and deceit as their primary strategies. Understanding which personality type you are dealing with can help you safeguard your peace and make smarter decisions about how to manage the relationship. If you find yourself confused by someone's behavior, these categories can provide clarity. Not every person who struggles to express emotions is a narcissist. Sometimes they simply lack access to that part of themselves. An emotionally reserved person may need support and patience, while a narcissist seeks constant validation. In contrast, a Machiavellian is playing a completely different game. Only after the match is over will you realize you were a pawn. Recognizing these differences can empower you to make healthier choices for your heart, your relationships, and your peace of mind. Okay, let me get personal for a second. Labeling every man who doesn't show emotion as a narcissist is a problem, and it's unfair. It's not only damaging to relationships, but also to men's mental health. Men are already conditioned to believe that expressing emotion is weak, and now we're calling them narcissists if they don't cry in front of us. Y'all, we have to do better. Sometimes you're dealing with someone who needs emotional development, not a diagnosis. Maybe he needs therapy, maybe he needs time, or maybe he's just not for you, and that's okay too. But if you walk away from this episode with one thing, let it be this: narcissists manipulate to control, reserved men withdraw to avoid, Machiavellians strategize to win. They're not the same, and mislabeling people can stop us from seeing the real issue. Let's shift gears a bit because narcissists and Machiavellians do play roles in society where their traits can be seen as beneficial. While it may sound counterintuitive, their characteristics can be valuable, particularly in high-stakes, high-pressure positions such as CEOs, politicians, and other leadership roles. When channeled appropriately, these traits can lead to success, innovation, and decisive action. Here's a closer look at why narcissists and Machiavellians might be considered needed in certain roles and how their unique qualities contribute to their effectiveness. Narcissists and Machiavellians possess distinct traits that make them particularly effective in leadership roles. Narcissists are visionaries driven by grandiosity, self-confidence, and an insatiable need for admiration. Elon Musk and Steve Jobs are great examples of this. Their belief in their own greatness motivates them to pursue ambitious goals that others may deem impossible. This relentless ambition can inspire teams, attract investors, and propel organizations to new heights. Leaders like Steve Jobs are often viewed as productive narcissists whose self-assurance and grand vision transformed entire industries. However, if left unchecked, narcissists can become self-serving, dismiss dissenting opinions, and engage in unethical behavior, often reacting negatively to criticism. On the other hand, Machiavellians are strategic masterminds who prioritize power, control, and long-term planning. Unlike narcissists, they are less concerned with being admired and more focused on maintaining an advantage. Think Jeff Bezos or Vladimir Putin. Their ability to remain emotionally detached and think several moves ahead, which makes them highly effective in negotiations, corporate mergers, and political strategy. Machiavellians thrive on calculated risk-taking and rational decision-making, frequently prioritizing the win over emotional connections. While this effectiveness in high-stakes environments can be advantageous, unchecked Machiavellianism can lead to deceit, manipulation, and exploitation of others for personal gain. Together, both narcissists and Machiavellians excel in leadership because of their decisiveness, resilience under pressure, charisma, and risk-taking abilities. Narcissists trust their instincts, while Machiavellians rely on strategic thinking, but both understand how to leverage their unique traits to achieve power and influence. When balanced with emotional intelligence and ethical guidance, these qualities can drive innovation, inspire movements, and lead organizations to greatness. Narcissists and Machiavellians are successful as leaders because each possesses unique strengths that enable them to rise to power and influence. Narcissists inspire others with their big dreams and strong self-belief. Their charm, confidence, and willingness to take risks often lead them to monumental success. Conversely, Machiavellians thrive in power structures. Their ability to plan several moves ahead, remain calm under pressure, and manipulate others to achieve their goals allows them to control outcomes and maintain power for extended periods. While both personality types have flaws, the combination of narcissistic vision and Machiavellian strategy can create highly effective, though sometimes controversial leaders. Narcissists' ambition and Machiavellian strategic thinking can lead to significant success and considerable controversy. Although their tactics may sometimes be unethical, their ability to lead, innovate, and dominate their industries or nations is undeniable. Whether for better or worse, narcissists inspire and Machiavellians control, and the world continues to be shaped by both. So there you have it, the good, the bad, and the ugly of narcissists, Machiavellians, and the emotionally reserved. 3 distinct personalities that often get confused. Remember, narcissists want to be adored, Machiavellians want to win, and emotionally reserved people just want to feel safe. If you recognize any of these patterns in your relationships, I encourage you to reflect, set boundaries, and prioritize your peace. All right, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you feel a little more equipped to spot the difference between them. Not all of them are bad people, but some of them are definitely bad for you. If you loved this episode, share it with a friend who's throwing around the narcissist label a little too freely. And hey, if you're thinking, Dr. Wisdom, I have a wild topic you need to unpack, hit me up. I'd love to feature it on the show. And don't forget my other shows, Tales on the Couch, When True Love Collides with True Crime, and Whispers of the White House, the best scandals and history of politics. Until next time, be curious, don't be rude, know your limits, and stay wise.